Hey everyone, it's your boy Billy Boston, aka the Blue Eyed Demon, and it's a wonderful late August day here in Colorado. It's about 90 degrees. I'm enjoying the vibe and the weather, and I'm here to discuss the second episode of Disney slash Marvel's What If series that just came out earlier today. Um, this episode, it's focused on what if T'Challa became Star-Lord. And I will say it's a fucking amazing episode, way better than the first one. Not to take away from the first one, but it's definitely better. I enjoyed it more. So yeah, I'm just gonna get right into it. I'm just gonna spit off random thoughts I had about it, really. And I do want to warn ahead of time that this is like full of spoilers. If you didn't watch it ahead of watching this video, I'm definitely gonna be talking about like what goes on in it. So please check it out if you're not trying to get anything spoiled for you. Check it out first before watching this. So with that all said, I'll just get right into it. I thought it was a real cool concept. What if T'Challa became Star-Lord? And I like how they actually unfolded it. So the show, it's like taking place in the 80s, and T'Challa, I'm assuming, is wow, I can't talk, no younger than 8 years old. And he's talking to his father about how he wants to leave Wakanda and explore more of the world, get out of his little bubble, because I'm assuming his whole life all he's known is Wakanda. They don't really get into that detail of it. And his father's like, no, you don't want to go out there. The world's a bad place. It's full of bad stuff, a lot of wars and hatred, and the rest of the world doesn't carry the same values and lifestyle that the Wakandans have. So he's telling his son, like, you're just better off staying behind these borders and living your life, and then eventually becoming king of Wakanda after I pass on. And he's all sad, blah, blah, blah. And one day he's like outside playing, and anyone that seen Black Panther or know anything about Black Panther in the MCU and how Wakanda is shielded by like a hologram, like the big parts of it, like the rest of the world thinks it's like a third world shithole. It only sees like a little bit of it, and then the cool futuristic stuff, the real Wakanda is like hidden behind a hologram, and the hologram, when you're outside of it, it just looks like jungle. You can't like see a city. And well, anyway, so he's outside playing with a spear, and he throws his spear past the hologram, so he gets past it. And once he gets past it, there happens to be a spaceship, and the spaceship is the Ravager's spaceship. So it's basically playing alongside the original origin story of Peter Quill, Star-Lord, when the Ravagers came because they were sent by Ego to grab his child that he had seeded on Earth, which was Peter Quill. But because this is an alternate reality, instead of picking Peter Quill up, for some reason they pick up T'Challa instead. And once they kidnap him, they beam him up. They're talking to Yondu and his henchmen, and Yondu's like, dude, this isn't the right kid. And he even shows a picture of him. He's like, how can you compare the two? And because they're bumbling fools, they don't know the difference. They think all humans look the same, and it's like a funny comedic moment. And then Yondu starts talking to T'Challa and asks him what he wants in life. And he basically says, I want to explore the world. And he's like, well, why stop at one world when I can show you a million? And it pans off into the screen of like outer space. And then it's 20 years later, and now he's Star-Lord instead of Peter Quill. And what's funny is, like, Peter Quill's Star-Lord is kind of like a sleazebag, and he's also like not known. Like, that's one of like the funny things about his characters. Every time he's like, call me Star-Lord, they're like, who? Or you might have heard of me, I'm the legendary Star-Lord, and they're like, who, what? But in this reality, T'Challa's Star-Lord is like a famous celebrity, and he's also known as like a Robin Hood type of person. Like the Ravengers in this reality, they're not just like space pirates slash scumbag criminals. They're actually like, yeah, like Robin Hood and his merry men, I guess. I was trying to think of a better example, but I couldn't. I guess that's perfect enough. And so, yeah, he's world renowned. And so it goes back to the beginning of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie where he's on, I can't think of the planet right now, wherever the Power Stone was being held at the beginning of the first Guardians movie. And T'Challa shows up and he gets the stone. And as he's trying to leave, there's Korath. And if you don't know who Korath in the MCU is the guy, is the actor that played Amistad. I can't think of his name. And, yeah, and instead of being like, who are you? Instead, he knows who Star-Lord is, and he's a big fanboy. And he kind of lets him escape with the Power Stone. And then he actually joins the Ravengers. He leaves working for Ronan the Accuser, which is a Kree Empire emperor type of individual, or I think he's like a high general, actually. Let me correct myself. So yeah, so it's definitely in a different direction. I like how like there's major differences so far. And then the Ravengers team, that like this blew my mind, is one of the members is actually Thanos. In this reality, Thanos doesn't go after the stones, and his plot to like destroy half of life to like help I guess like keep resources, because like that was his thing. If you know anything about Thanos, is and the snap, is it was to get rid of half of life, because in his crazy mind, get rid of half of life, it'll help all the depleting resources of the universe. And but in this reality, T'Challa, I guess, talks him out of it and actually has him join the team. And it was kind of mind-blowing. And it was also awesome that, like, most of the people in this episode were voiced by the actual actors that played them in live action. Like, Josh Brolin actually came back as Thanos. And, you know, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman was T'Challa. And Michael Rooker was Yondu. And so on and so forth. I think like only Drax and maybe the Collector, don't quote me on that. Definitely Drax though wasn't the same actor. I guess Dave Bautista, there was, I don't know if it was controversy. I heard two things. It was either like some Disney controversy, and I also heard it was something as simple as like his manager messed up and so he missed the timing to do the voice acting. Either way, it's not him, but it definitely sounds like Drax. And Drax is a bartender in this reality. And because of Star-Lord, Thanos, well, not Thanos, Ronan the Accuser never killed his wife and child and never destroyed his home world. So now instead of like going on a life of revenge, I guess he becomes a bartender in this reality. I thought that was kind of funny. And then he meets up with Nebula, and Nebula in this reality has like hair and she's pretty and she has been modified by Thanos, because again, Thanos doesn't go on to become the Mad Titan and the, you know, a big bad villain in the universe. He becomes a member of T'Challa's Ravengers. And he meets up with her and she basically tells him like she wants to acquire this, I forget what they called it, but it was like some kind of like space fungus. I never heard of it. I don't know if it's in the source material. It's definitely not been mentioned in the MCU before this show. But it's like basically some kind of like fungus plant thing that's so potent that it could actually like bring like a dying planet back to life, like rejuvenate it. And she wants it, and so and the person who has it is the Collector, if you remember that guy from, you know, the original source material in the movies Guardian of the Galaxy. And so they have this plan to go in and steal it from him. And, you know, stuff ensues, this and that. But, like, what I like is there's mad Easter eggs in this. Like, when he's walking through the collector's, like, area where he has all the things that he collects, all the different animals. You know, they show Astro, the cosmic dog, again, which at the end of the episode, T'Challa rescues and ends up keeping as his pet. I thought that was pretty cool. But then there's Howard the Duck, and he actually frees him from prison because Howard the Duck knows, like, where that fungus is hidden, because this chamber is fucking, from what you can tell, is fucking endless. And there's, like, cells on top of cells that go up and up and up, and it's mind-boggling. But he frees Howard the Duck. They have some, like, funny jokes and dialogue, blah, blah, blah. And it's Seth Green returning as the voice, which is perfect because I think he does a good job as Howard the Duck. But what's funny is, like, I think it's the rest of the Ravengers are causing a distraction. And what's weird is in this alternate reality, the Collector has hired Thanos' children as his, like, personal guard. So they don't work for Thanos because, again, this is a different reality. And so while they're causing a distraction, it's them fighting each other. And Proxima Midnight, which I thought, this part I didn't like because it made Thanos look mad weak. Like, I feel like it was just a plot device. But, like, she uses her spear to, like, hit the ground and electrocute all of them. And it takes more than that to take out Thanos. So I didn't like that. I thought that was a little weird. Because even if he doesn't... Because a lot of people think he's only, you know, OP, godlike, powerful because he has the gauntlet with the stones. But no, like, Thanos just as is. Like, Titans, I guess, are a pretty formidable fucking species, I guess. Like, I feel like he's on the same tier as, like, an Odin, which is a top tier Asgardian guard. But, yeah, so anyways, they cause a distraction, and, you know, stuff ensues. So because of the distraction, the whole place starts locking down and doors start shutting and all this. And, I thought this was weird, but, like, in the middle of, or, like, just out of nowhere, out of this massive area where all the things are being kept, there just so happens to be a bar. And anyone that knows Howard the Duck, he always loves, like, getting drunk and all that. So he's like, oh, I'm thirsty, I gotta rehydrate. And he stops for a drink. And then you hear the alarms and the doors start shutting. And T'Challa's like, oh, no, I gotta finish my mission. And he dips out. And Howard the Duck's like, dude, what are you doing? Stay here and get drunk with me. And he fucking slides under the door before it closes. And that's the last you see of him, at least in this episode. I don't know if he'll appear more in others. Because, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully he does. He's a real funny character. But, yeah, long story short, he finds the fungus, blah, blah, blah. And then there's the big, boss battle between the Collector and T'Challa and Yondu, and they're getting their ass beat, but I love, like, the Easter eggs. So, like, in this reality, the Collector is, like, swollen huge, and he has all these different artifacts / weapons that he uses to fight, and they're definitely Easter eggs. And then he shows, like, a wall of different weapons, and on the wall you can see, like, Captain America's shield, and you can see Mjolnir. So I'm assuming in this reality they must be either dead or somehow the Collector was able to acquire those weapons. But yeah, like, he makes a reference to the Dark Elves from the second Thor movie, Dark World, because he has a elven knife that's made out of dark matter, and he's trying to stab T'Challa with it. And then he pulls out, it looks like, it's kind of like a replica. To me, it looked like a but instead of being red, it's blue. It looked like a replica of, like, Hellboy's rock hand. And he's got that on, and he's like, yeah, it's from a I forget the name of the alien race, but he's like, yeah, it's from a dead, whatever the race is called, which I can't remember the name, but I do know that whatever that race was is Korg's race. Might even have been Korg's hand. And anyone that knows Korg, that's the tall guy that's like made out of rocks that's in Thor Ragnarok, and he's the one that was in Endgame playing Fortnite and being like, Thor, it's Noob Master again harassing me. So yeah, he's got that rock hand and he's doing a bunch of stuff with it, and then he pulls out Hela's crown with all the signature spikes that are coming out of it, and he's like, oh, what a marvelous piece. And I never knew the actual names of them, but anyone that's seen Thor Ragnarok, how she can just conjure up like knives and axes, I guess those are called Necra's weapons. So when he conjures up blades and shit to fight Yondu and the other dude, T'Challa, he's like, oh, look at my Necra swords. And he whips them out and they're fighting, and then, long story short, they beat his ass, they win, and they lock him up, and then they release all the other captive beings and animals and aliens or whatever that he's captured over the years. They release them before they leave, and, you know, now they're going to turn on the Collector while he's locked in a cell. And so that's how he dies. But at some point in the show, Thanos kind of is like, everyone leave, I'll stay behind and fight all these guys. And he's staying to fight, you know, Proxima Midnight and all those people. So while they like dip out, he stands there and he's fighting, and then it shows him like being subdued and he's about to get killed. But then Nebula comes back to save him, and she has that weird fungus shit. And then what's crazy is literally the size of like molecule type shit. It's like literally it looked like little like fibers coming off the fungus. That's all it took. Went in some dude's mouth and it just started spewing this, what looked like a bunch of foliage just appearing. And it came out, and anyone that knows where the Collector's hideout is, it's a place called Nowhere, which is basically a dead, floating celestial skull. And now it's like now it's like the skull, it looked like a chia pet, like a glorified chia pet. It's like now the skull is just starting to grow all this like foliage and shit around it. And they don't show this, but I was under the impression that maybe it might even bring the celestial head back to life. I don't know, that'd be pretty cool, but I admit they didn't show that. And I don't even know if they meant to imply that, but that's what I got out of it. And then, yeah, it's revealed that, like, you know, because, like, earlier in the episode, it's brought up to T'Challa, like, oh, well, why didn't you ever go back to Earth and see your, like, original family and this and that? And he's like, oh, it's because, Yondu, you know, at one point in time did want to send me back, but when they went back to Earth, they found out that Wakanda's been destroyed, I guess, in a big, giant war. Well, while T'Challa was trying to find this fungus, he has this necklace. It's the same necklace that he rocks in the Black Panther movie. I believe them to be tiger teeth or panther teeth. I don't know what they are, but it's some kind of like Wakanda necklace that he has in the movie, and he also has in this. Well, while he's running around the Collector's hideout, he comes across like a spaceship, and his necklace starts glowing, and it makes the spaceship like activate. And it turns out it's like a Wakanda hovercraft. And he's like, what the fuck? And he goes in, well, he obviously doesn't swear, but he's like, what? He's like, huh? And he goes inside, and there's like a hologram of his father, significantly aged because it's been like 20 years later. And it turns out that Yondu lied to him. Wakanda was never destroyed, and that actually his father sent that hovercraft into space with a hologram recording, basically saying like, whoever finds this ship amongst the stars, we're looking for our son. This is what he looks like. And then he even had like a personal message to T'Challa. He's like, T'Challa, if you get this, know that we will never stop looking for you, and we will go as far as it takes across the universe to try to find you. Something along that lines. I mean, I can't quote the guy. So then, he eventually confronts Yondu, and Yondu basically is like, oh yeah, I lied to you because, I consider you family and I don't want to give you up. Like, I consider you a son. And they were mad, but then, T'Challa eventually forgives him and kind of understands why I lied to him. So, basically the episode towards the end is T'Challa makes the decision to go back to Earth. I don't know if he's staying there, but he definitely goes back to Wakanda, reunites with his family. The Ravager characters interact with Black Panther characters, so it's funny seeing, what are they called? The Taj Mahal, not Taj Mahal, because that's a place in India. I hear it in my head, but my tongue won't let me say the word. Whatever the royal guard is of Wakanda, it's like those characters, like the bald chicks with the spears, interacting with Thanos, and they have some funny dialogue. And it's funny seeing like Yondu talking to T'Challa's father and mother, and it's real funny. And then they don't get into it. They don't explain if he stays or not. It just shows that they've reunited. But then the way the episode ends, which is hilarious, is because T'Challa was the one that got kidnapped this whole time, that means Peter Quill never went into space, never became Star-Lord. So I guess this whole time he just grew up in Missouri, and it shows him actually working, I think it was at a Dairy Queen, and it shows him mopping the floor. And then you hear a voice say something, and he's like, oh, we're closed. And when he turns around, it's fucking Ego. And he's like, oh, you don't have time for your father? And his eyes start glowing. And then you hear Watu, because Watu the Watcher is the narrator of this show. He's like, oh, well, it looks like this spells doom for impending doom for this planet. But that's another story for another day. And that's how the episode ends. And I'm fucking digging it. Allegedly, and I mean, I can tell from the trailer and the way the first episode ended that these episodes themselves are connected to each other. But between watching the first episode and the second episode, I don't really see how they're connected yet. And I'm real curious to know what it is that will make them connect. If I'm going to jump the gun and just jump to conclusions ahead of time, I'm assuming it has to do with that octopus creature that was coming out of the portal in the first episode when Captain Carter was taking out the Red Skull, and he was using the Tesseract to try to bring his so-called champion of Hydra from another dimension. But yeah, man, I'm really digging the show. It's real interesting. I'm digging the animation. I know I said that last video, but I mean, I'm still feeling it. It just dawned on me today. It's Marvel, and it's definitely to the T how the MCU is. But the way it's drawn is the signature Disney style of animation, which makes sense because it is a Disney project. But it dawned on me that that's what it was, because it's kind of if you ever seen that Family Guy episode where Stewie and the dog, I can't think of the dog's name right now. Yeah, I need to not smoke before making these videos, because I tend to, fuck, I don't know, it doesn't matter. You know what the dog is in fucking Family Guy. When they go to the different dimensions, and and one of the dimensions is like a Disney World. And so instead of doing the Family Guy style of animation to make fun of the Disney World, they actually drew the Family Guy characters in this Disney style. That, to me, if you know what I'm talking about, that's what this What If show looks like. The way it's drawn, it definitely has that Disney feel to it. I'm not mad at it, but I thought it was funny. I don't know. It just clicked with me today, and I kind of like took a couple seconds to think about that. I thought it was kind of funny. But yeah, I'm real excited to see like what the show has in store, like what is in the future episodes are gonna touch on and show. But what was disappointing is when this show was being like advertised, like say like a year or a year and a half ago, during Comic Cons and all the like Kevin Feige when he does his press conferences talking about like future projects, they said that there's gonna be an episode for every movie for the first 3 phases. So that means I think there's 22 movies. That would be 22 episodes. But yet this show is only doing 9 episodes. Unless they're gonna keep that premise like to future seasons. I don't know. I just kind of was like, what? 9? I don't know. It kind of blew my mind a little bit. And kind of let me down. But I don't know. I don't know if they changed their mind or if they didn't think the show was going to work out or what the story is. But yeah, they kind of, yeah, it's only 9 episodes for season 1 when I was expecting 22. But, hey, whatever. I'm digging it. I mean, I'm glad there's 9 episodes. I'm glad there's a What If show that's connected to the live action movies, period. Because, 6 years ago or whatever, if you brought that up to me, I probably wouldn't think that'd ever be a thing. So I'm just happy all around, man. I'm really digging all this new Marvel stuff that was coming out, because that little dry spell was killing me. And also, I'm not gonna lie, like when they announced their future stuff, I was kind of like Shang-Chi, She-Hulk. Why are they doing that? That's fucking stupid. But now I'm real interested, especially Shang-Chi, because like, excuse me, other YouTube channels that I follow religiously that do like reviews on comic movies and the comic books, and like guys that know way more than I could ever know. I learn a lot from their videos. Those same YouTube content creators, they've been talking nothing but highly about Shang-Chi. And like, yeah, man, I'm real excited. If whatever they're saying is true, then yeah, that movie's definitely gonna be popping. It will blow Black Widow away, which I kind of knew from the get-go. When the rumor, actually, you know what I was gonna say, I don't want to say. I think it's a little too controversial. But yeah. So those are my thoughts and feelings on this show, man. I kind of want to do these reviews, kind of like how I did this one. Just random thoughts, because I notice a lot of reviews, it's the person going through the episode, like, as if you're, like, watching it with them, and then them talk, which is fine. I mean, don't get me wrong. But I don't want to do it that way. I kind of rather do it just, like, whatever pops in my head at the time as I'm making the video and talk about it. My thoughts, my feelings. I welcome you guys to comment your thoughts and feelings. Corrections if I made mistakes on people's names, or if I said like, oh, this is why this happens and it's not the case, or if I get references wrong. I do not mind at all being corrected. I actually love it, because then it just makes me learn, and it just makes me better, and I feel like it'll make my videos better, and it'll help my channel grow. But yeah, man, I think the next episode I'm gonna do is probably gonna be on the much anticipated 4th episode of Titans, which is an HBO Max original. Because the way they ended that 3rd episode, man, that was kind of like a season finale, the way they ended that. It was, seeing Hawk blow up. Yeah. But yeah, guys, I don't want to really ramble on too much more. Hopefully you like this video, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Hopefully today will be the day that I earn your subscription. And wherever you are in this world, I hope you're safe, and I wish nothing but the best for you and yours. Have a good one, guys. Holla at Chiguala.